Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be talking about something that I randomly came up with, sort of spur of the moment, and that happens to be Romhack ideas. So I just get to talk about different ideas I'd like to see get made with ROM hacks, or possibly even mods, or whatever. But I'm going to consider this a whole different thing than wishful thinking, which I haven't done a video in that in a while though. But anyways though, we're going to be talking about games with licensed music in them, and why they can be so annoying to stream on YouTube. So there's been a couple times where I get people in my stream asking me to play certain games, and I remember one time someone asked me to play Crazy Taxi, and I did it, but unfortunately I had to turn the music off, and let me tell ya, playing Crazy Taxi with no music in it totally changed the whole tone of the game for that. It just felt really dull and boring. Yeah, it's kind of weird how stuff like that can happen with a simple change. So I just came up with an idea of having ROM hacks of games with licensed music being stream friendly, and therefore you don't have to turn the music off and making your whole game stream a whole silent movie. Now, I have a feeling that there might be ROM hacks of something like this available already, and I'm just not aware of them, but I personally have never seen any. There's only one thing I have seen that was made to be stream-friendly, but it's for a little bit of a different thing, and that happens to be for Pokemon Channel on the GameCube. So for those that don't know, Pokemon Channel on the GameCube was a very weird game, but one of the main things about that game was that in order to progress through the game, you had to watch episodes of Pokemon. Well, it wasn't a full-length episode, but it was just like little parts of it, and of course, playing that game back in the day, you know, it was fine, whatever. But if you're trying to stream that game to the world to see, it's gonna be a huge problem. So, obviously, if you're a human being that has more than one brain cell, yeah, you obviously know that the person streaming the game isn't playing it so they can, like, upload clips of Pokemon and trying to, like, get back at the billion-dollar company or some dumb shit like that. But YouTube's copyright system, however, has less than one brain cell, so they don't look at it that way. Instead, they'll try to banhammer the video as if you committed a war crime or something. And the add on top of this is that YouTube's copyright system is so inconsistent. Like, there are some times where it'll affect you, sometimes it won't, and hell, sometimes it'll even take years, and then you get affected by it out of nowhere. So anyways, the good thing is that if you wanted to stream a Pokemon Channel now, someone actually made a ROM hack that bypasses all, like, the cutscene stuff, so therefore you can play it without having to worry about that shit. So that got me thinking about all these games with licensed music that it would be kind of interesting if there was a ROM hack that made stream-friendly versions of them where it would replace the licensed music with something that obviously would not be a problem. For an example, video game music from lesser-known games. So recently, I did a stream where I was playing through a bunch of Twisted Metal games, and when I was playing the fourth game, which I do think is a pretty underrated one in the series, well, as you know, that game has a lot of licensed music, where it has Rob Zombie's song, Cypress Hill, and I forget the name of the guy that did the song Chaos, but no, it is not Nine Inch Nails, because I remember a lot of people back then used to think it was, because someone on LimeWire labeled it as such, which I thought was funny. So anyways, so what I did when I played through that game was that I turned off the music, and then I used my own songs that I have, because, you know, I have like a huge collection of video game music, and then I just played some of those that would try to fit with each level, and it was actually pretty fun to try to see, like, what songs would fit with each, like, setting. To give you an example, for the construction yard, the first level, as you know, that's the one that has Dracula from Rob Zombie, which is a fun song, but what I replaced it with was a song from the game Painkiller, which is a fucking badass game. And that game has a lot of, like, really awesome heavy metal tracks, and you know what? That whole soundtrack really could fit with this game perfectly. Like, if someone did do a ROM hack where they just replace all the music with different Painkiller soundtracks, like, I'd be totally down with it. But of course, for me personally, I only just picked one track to represent Painkiller because, you know, I like trying to fit a bunch of variety of different things. And going back to Crazy Taxi, but you know what's a game soundtrack that would fit that game really well if you can't have the Offspring blasting in there? Is a game called Mad Panic Coaster. It's a pretty obscure PS1 game that I reviewed years ago that's pretty cool and interesting. Well, the music in that game pretty much sounds like, you know, stuff from that era. And it's just a really great underrated soundtrack that doesn't get enough love, and hearing it in another video game would be pretty awesome. So obviously these ROM hacks would be made towards for people that like to stream video games, where if you don't stream video games, well, obviously this isn't gonna like make much of a difference, but I suppose it could be interesting just to check out and see what type of songs that the person put in there. In a weird way, it kind of reminds me of checking out some of those old Flash games back in the day, where there'd be some where they would use songs from video games, and sometimes they would use songs from games that I never played, and then once I played the game where it originally came from, I'd be like, oh shit, that's where that song came from. So there could be a possible chance that if someone did play one of these ROM hacks just for funsies, they could discover a new game out of it that they never knew before. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to say about it. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just make games with licensed music easier to stream without having to get rid of the music and make it like a boring snooze fest. Because there is a ton of games from the 90s and early 2000s that really could use this. For an example, like we got like Midnight Club 3 and all of the different Need for Speed games, and really just a lot of racing games really. And you got all the different sport games from EA, and also there's even some of the wrestling games, although the whole wrestling thing is a whole other can of worms altogether, because I know WWE is very anal when it comes to this kind of thing. Though as for streaming rhythm games though, yeah, that's gonna be something that I have no idea what the hell they're gonna do with that. That's still just a lost cause as far as I know, but I don't know, maybe someone will figure something out for that one. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about, was just something just random that came to my mind, and yeah, maybe at some point in time I'll do more ROM hack idea videos. Like I said, they're gonna be different than the wishful thinking, because wishful thinking is kind of more or less, games I wish got made, where this one is more about mods and ROM hacks. So without further ado, thanks for watching and commenting, and have yourselves a great day.